Good morning and welcome to Scotland Speaks in the aftermath of the storm. Now today we were due to bring you a discussion programme on the inauguration of President Trump, but due to the health and safety of our production team and indeed the guests, we had to cancel our recording yesterday because all transport was cancelled. Given that it's Burns night, however, we thought we would play out to you again the ALBA Party Burns Supper from last year in 2024. Please do enjoy the show and the very great memories of the very great Alex Salmond.
Welcome to Scotland Speaks with the Very Reverend. I am Alex Salmond, and to the historic Salutation Hotel in Perth for another special edition of the show.
This is the oldest established hotel in Scotland, continuously in operation since way back into the 17th century. And in 1745, in this very room, the Stuart Room, Bonnie Prince Charlie and his generals had a council of war to plan and plot the invasion of England. How did that work out, Taz?
Well, the Stuart Room isn't quite big enough for the main event tonight as we present a special Burns Supper show. After Alex Sneal told us just a couple of weeks ago about Robert Burns the Radical, we had a number of requests from our international audience to show exactly what a Burns Supper is. And so today we present some of the edited highlights of this year's ALBA Party's Burns Supper, a whole evening of celebration of the life and works of Scotland's national bard, Robert Burns.
Yeah, edited highlights, because we've only got half an hour or so for the show, where a real Burns Supper like this one can last 5 hours and more.
A Burns Supper follows a highly organised format with set speeches and recitations spiced with Burns songs and poetry. Mind you, as the drink flows, occasionally things become less organised as the night draves on with songs and clatter.
And as the crowd gathers in the big room downstairs, now to our tale.
At a Burns Supper, most of the action takes place after the meal. But first, Scotland's national dish, haggis, must be piped in and the bill of fare properly welcomed and Burns' traditional Celtic grace delivered.
But mark the rustic haggis bed, the trembling earth resounds his cred. Clasped in his well and eva blade, he'll mak it whistle, and legs and arms and heads to stead, like taps of thistle. Ye powers that make mankind your care, and dish them out their bill of fare. Old Scotland wants nae stinking fare, at jumps and luggies. But if you wish her grateful prayer, ye have chicken tikka masala! Enjoy!
Some hae meat and canny eat, and some word eat, that's one eat. But we hae meat and we can eat. Say let the Lord be thanked.
With hunger satisfied and thirst in at least the first stages of being met, the evening gets down to the serious business of the major toasts and speeches, the most famous of those, the immortal memory of Robert Burns. Tonight's offering from former Scottish Parliament member Joan McAlpine did not disappoint.
I'm in the fortunate position of having come straight from Robert Burns' bedroom to speak to you tonight. And that's why I've got a smile on my face. To provide a little context, Suzanne's already provided the context. My full-time job is as project director of Ellisland Museum and Farm in Dumfriesshire. But Dougal Stewart had a glimpse of his motivation one morning when the two of them were out walking together in the Braid Hills south of Edinburgh. Burns remarked on the smoke emanating from tiny cottages, and he spoke of the happiness and worth that such cottages contained. He admired the people who lived in these hovels and who spoke his language and shared his values. Nowhere is this better illustrated than in his poem The Cotter's Saturday Night, his tribute to Scotland's rural working class. From scenes like these, old Scotia's grandeur springs, that makes her loved at home, revered abroad. Princes and lords are but the breath of kings, an honest man's the noblest work of God. The wonderful African-American writer Maya Angelou said of Burns, his spirit is a humanitarian one. He was able to love human beings and his imagination was vast. So Burns loved people for their humanity, not the size of their bank balance, where they come from or their rank, which he famously described as but a guinea's stamp in his songs A Man's a Man for All That.
And then on to the songs and poems.
But it's great to see so many former and current elected representatives from across the independence movement here with us tonight. But I'm just glad that Maggie Chapman isn't one of them, because for this poem she might not be done for hate speech. So here we are, A Man's a Man by Robbie Burns. Is there for honest poverty that hangs his head and a' that? The coward slave we pass him by, we dare be poor for all that. For a' that and a' that, our tolls obscure and a' that. The rank is but the guinea's stamp, the man's the gold for all that. What low and hamely fare we dine, where hodden grey and a' that. Gie fools their silks and knaves their wine, a man's a man for a' that.
If I should become a stranger, you know it would make me more than sad. Caledonians been everything I've ever had. In Caledonia, been everything I've ever had.
I'll meet thee on the lyric, my ain kind dearie, oh. At midnight o'er in Mercus Glen, I drove and ne'er be weary, oh. If through that glen I get to thee, my ain kind dearie, oh.
But Moosey, thou art thou thy lane. Improving foresight may be vain, the best laid schemes of mice and men gan afterglay, and lea us not but grief and pain for promised joy. Still, thought art blessed compared with me, the present only toucheth thee, but och, I backward cast my e'e unprosperic stree, and forward though I canna see, and guess and fear. Thank you.
Just a wee preface to this contribution. I just want to make it clear. I apologise to the purists in the room, but I might have made a few political points in this address. So, while Europe's eyes are fixed on mighty things, last gasps of the British Empire and the fall of kings, while quacks of state fail to produce even a plan, and blue-haired children lisp the rights of man. Amid these mighty fuss, just let me mention, the rights of women deserve our full attention.
At this point, there's a very special ritual at a modern Burns Supper where two toasts collide. First, a toast to the lassies from Independent Nationalist MP Angus Brendan McNeill, and then the withering reply from our very own Tasmina.
Yeah, thanks very much for that. It's only downhill from here, really, isn't it? I mean, that was a fantastic introduction. I hope I can live up to it. And just before I get going, can I just say, Neil Hanvey there, he's been sincere and fearless on the rights of women. And what he was saying is very apt. Neil Hanvey was speaking on that, because Neil Hanvey has been all the way, when it was difficult to make the argument, it's easier in the last few months, but Neil Hanvey was fearless in making that argument. So a round of applause for Neil Hanvey there. Now, I've been asked where's my kilt. Now, the Clan McNeill motto was conquer or die. And we've ended up in the island of Barra, which I presume we did a lot more dying than we ever did conquering. And the clan ended up quite poor, so we can't afford a kilt. But we got a kilt between us, so we divided it, we made ties. So hence no kilt, or else it's lost in a Calmac ferry that's gone via Ullapool rather than Oban. I'll just, another disclaimer here, by the way, is I'm available for the SNP as well for Burns Suppers, but but given they wouldn't have me and Mr. Chris McElhenney for about 5 years before they expelled me, I'm not really waiting by the phone for the call. But I just want them to know that I'm still here. I'm still here to give them my words of wisdom. Not that they want words of wisdom. These are very testing times, and I think I've been given the tough gig of the evening. I mean, Neil did well there, but he didn't actually have to enter the minefield that is nowadays the toasts to the lassies. Years ago, this was easy. You just said whatever chauvinistic stuff came into your head, you got a round of applause and off you went. Yeah. But now one wrong step, and as Eric Bogle said, you might be circling ass over tit. Yeah.
I've delivered a number of decimations, annihilations, slaughters and massacres, replies for the lassies over the years. So in my search for new material, I thought of using AI. And then I realised what artificial intelligence really is. Artificial intelligence is but a turn of phrase best used to describe a trait shared by both men and unionists. They are indeed artificially intelligent. Unfortunately, there are no signs of any guest bucking that trend here this evening either. But at least today's specimen knows what a woman is. Although Angus is a believer in biology, he didn't have to be. In his case, it was practice that made him perfect. Indeed, he's had so much practice, it's made him perfect in identifying real women from pretendy ones, and in most cases, but not all, before it's too late. Just a wee reminder while we're here, ladies and gentlemen, if you have to self-ID as a woman, it's because you're not one in the first place. Now, Angus Brendan McNeill is, of course, a single man. So when he gets home after a hard day's work on those green benches, he takes a look at what's in the fridge and goes to bed. A married man, on the other hand, goes home, sees what's in bed and goes to the fridge. There are definitely some signs of that type of behaviour here tonight. Now, as we've heard from Angus, the most important women in his life are his beautiful 3 daughters, his pride and joy. And they are his absolute priority, and he is a good daddy. But Angus is like Burns in so many ways. A lover of women, lots of women, and in some cases all at the same time and even in the same beds. And so, with the men safely put to the sword, the supper takes a well-earned break, as do we. Welcome back to the ALBA Burns Supper at the historic Salutation Hotel. Now, before we return to the Burns Supper, let's take a look at your comments on our recent shows. User says, what a cracking podcast, a real morale booster. Speakers who believe heart and soul in Scottish independence and have the vision on how to achieve it. Inspiring to see Angus McNeill at the podium sharing common cause with ALBA and the wider Yes movement. Interesting take from Neil Hanvey regarding his bill in the House of Commons with respect to the SNP MPs who supported it and equally significant that it was predominantly English Labour MPs who scuppered it. Geronimo says, brilliant, love the passion and ideas and positivity. Keep working and let's all keep going until we win. Scotland always. Rod says, it's ALBA for me now. And finally, Harold says, yep, ALBA has got to get into the minds of Scots. We've got to spread the word. I'll be showing everyone I know Kenny McCaskill's speech. We've got to get the message across. Short pieces like that work as people don't have time to listen to over half an hour's worth. And short bursts, well, they stick in the mind. It's easy to make your own short clip too to share on your phone. Wise advice from Harold and absolutely correct. And then, a surprise visit from a well-known clergyman.
Hello. It's been a hell of a decade. Brexit, Trump, Johnson, Truss, Sturgeon, Murrell, church amalgamations, COVID, global warming, war in Europe, and now in the Middle East. Still, some things have improved. 10 years ago, Craig Levine was manager of Heart of Midlothian. The Lord decided that my calling was not to serve in the richest, most prestigious and largest stipend pulpit in Scotland. Apparently my outlook in life was not sufficiently with it. Perhaps it was my cheery disposition that counted against me. At any rate, the new St Giles minister believes that the resurrection is a metaphor, gender is fluid, and is currently self-identifying as an atheist. However, every silver lining has a cloud. And instead, I was called here to the fair city of Perth. Although with the state of house prices, there's nothing really fair about it. Instead of a manse overlooking the Tay, Euphrasia and I were presented with a nearly new camper van in Tay Street car park. Bought, I understand, extremely reasonably from a police auction in Glasgow. In order to beat the cold, I have embraced the new technology of WhatsApp to deliver my sermons, Burns Nicht addresses, and family communications. This has not worked out as well as I'd hoped, and is fraught with danger when the wrong buttons are pressed. As a result, Euphrasia did not appreciate my harmless flirting with the Women's Guild. The loyal Sons of Orange Perth City chapter expected rather more from my immortal memory than a Tesco message line with an instruction to have my tea on the table. While the Women's Guild itself took exception to being told to be up to their knees in Fenian blood. As a result, I have deleted all WhatsApp messages in line with the recent Kirk instruction, and just to be safe, backdated it to 2007, 6 years before WhatsApp was introduced. And so, I will continue on alone, isolated, shivering in my camper van, sitting in my thermals, but with my comfy slippers a Christmas gift from the local MP. With before me a blank sheet of paper writing my sermons and trying to find in Holy Scripture reasons to assert my normal, joyful, effervescent, bubbly and engaging personality. This may take some time. Until then, let me leave you with Robert Burns. But Lord, remember me and mine with mercies temporal and divine, that I for grace and gear may shine excelled by name, and all the glory shall be thine. Amen. Amen.
Welcome back. Well, our Burns Supper is moving towards its climax with another major toast, this time to Scotland, performed by our old friend, former Cabinet Secretary, Alex Neil.
A group of geologists produced a report and they said Scotland will be free from England physically with water between us, but not at least until 250 million years AD. So their timetable is slightly faster than Humza's. And just in case Humza listens to this, I'm only joking. But then so is he. Many thanks for inviting me to give the toast to Scotland at the ALBA Party Burns Supper, which I'm delighted to do because I believe everybody in the independence movement should be talking to everybody else in the independence movement. And there's a good reason for that. We all want independence and we want it as soon as possible. So let us work together to get it. Given our scientific engineering ability to create a whole new industry in Scotland, who would have thought that we would have been leaders in the space industry? And to be fair to the Greens though, they have been involved in the space industry for some time. Wired to the moon. So if you look at all Scotia, there's a lot to be proud of. If you look at Scotland today, there's a lot to be proud of, or a lot that we still have to do. But it's Scotland tomorrow that I am most concerned about. I actually want to see Scotland independent before I pop my clogs. And I'm sure you're the same. And let me just say in passing, I mean, I like Humza. He's a nice guy. I'm not going to say any more than that, other than to say there is one thing I do disagree with him on. When he says he's ashamed of the word national, does he not understand the word national? And the clue is in the first 6 letters. N-A-T-I-O-N. Nation. It's about being a nation again. Far from being ashamed of the word. It should be part of our armoury. That's what we're trying to do, to make Scotland a nation again, a nation state again, and to be able to do all the things that we know can and should be done. So I think that although we are going through as a movement a very difficult period, all of which has been self-inflicted, by the way. But we've got to work as one independence team, that every party, every organisation, every person united behind the Scottish flag and behind the campaign. And if we do that, then we can achieve it, and Scotland can be free again. I would like you to be upstanding and let us toast the nation of Scotland. Scotland.
Now, before the congregation turns to the lang Scots miles that lie between us and our hame, there is but one final ritual to be performed, which will close our special show. Firstly, with Burns' Scots anthem, Scots Whahay, and then his universal song of friendship and the most famous song in the world, Auld Lang Syne. We do hope you enjoyed and that you join us again next week when we'll be back in the safety of our Glasgow studios. Until then, take care. We hope you've enjoyed the show and we shall see you next week.